everything is on the table right now for this Colts team in going into week 6 in a way that I think is surprising some people, but inside this building, I don't think it's surprising a lot of people.
Welcome back to another episode of Georgeonsports with me, your host, George. Joining me on today's show, returning to the show, Colts.com writer and PA announcer, JJ Stankevitz. JJ, welcome back to the show, and how are you?
Yeah, glad to be back on, George. Thanks for having me back on here.
I mean, we're going to get straight into it. We'll go straight with the latest news. It's a bit of a bittersweet one. Obviously, the Colts win. They take down the Titans in what feels like forever. But we then lose our starting quarterback in AR Anthony Richardson, number 5. I mean, an AC sprain, we're looking at 4 to 6 weeks out. It's very unfortunate because, you know, he hasn't been able to finish, I think, 3 or 4 games now. And there's a lot of talk about, you know, is he going to be able to stay healthy? Should he stop running? You mentioned it on the Colts Audio Network yourself. But one of the things I wanted to mention in particular is, in this particular instance, this was a play and an injury that could have happened at any point to any quarterback in any point of the league. You know, this isn't AR didn't go down in time or AR did the wrong thing. This is just a very unfortunate circumstance for us. Lucky for us, we have a guy named Minshew.
The thing, George, so just first of all on AR, right now, Shane Steichen told us on Monday that the Colts are still evaluating the severity of the injury. So the 4 to 6 weeks thing I know has been out there, I think, until the Colts really get a firm diagnosis and plan of this. You know, they don't even know right now.
Okay.
So there still is a lot of evaluation to be done with Anthony Richardson's shoulder, but Shane Steichen did say he will miss, quote, some time, and he will not start on Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which brings us to Gardner Minshew, who you mentioned, George. I wrote about this in my 5 Colts Things column on Colts.com on Monday. The throw that he had, it's 3rd and 6, ball's on the Titans' 45-yard line, about 3 minutes to go. Colts are up by 4. Tennessee sends a 7-man pressure, and there's an unblocked guy. The Colts have a 6-man protection. There's going to be an unblocked guy. Gardner knows he has to get it out quick. He reads the leverage of the outside corner, Sean Murphy Bunting, and knows, all right, Alec is going to get open on this play. I can get him the ball there. Delivers it within 2 seconds. If he delivers that throw a split second later, Danico Autry is pile driving him into the turf for a sack, an incompletion, a forced fumble. Could have been anything. Instead, generates a first down. Colts go down. The Titans have to burn all 3 of their timeouts. By the time Tennessee gets the ball back, they're chasing a 7-point game, and they have 1 minute to go. And that leads Ryan Tannehill to throw the game-sealing interception. Just stuff like that with Gardner Minshew, where he's tough, he knows where to go with the ball, he's accurate, and the Colts have an immense amount of trust in this guy to start however many games they're going to need him to start while Anthony Richardson recovers from this injury.
Absolutely, you know, I mean, I couldn't have wished for a better guy. Not to even speak about the relationship that he has with his, you know, Shane Steichen. And it brings me to another point. I mean, you mentioned how Minshew was able to deliver that ball, and he knew the hit coming. You can see he took the hit too, but was able to get the ball out and release it to Alec Pierce, who, you know, secures that ball and moves the chains. But one of the things that really stands out is obviously we haven't beat the Titans since 2020, and we haven't beat them at home since 2018. Now, that's 5 years. That's a very long time to a division rival who you haven't beaten that long. So this home win against, you know, a very solid defensive team in the Titans, limiting Derrick Henry to 43 yards, I believe it is. I mean, you mentioned it again on the Colts Audio Network. So, guys, if you haven't listened to that, make sure you do for all your latest Colts news. But if you, like you said, if you had flipped this script and, you know, given the public 2 options of the stats, Zach Moss, total yards of 195, 25 touches, 2 touchdowns, you're more than likely going to say this is Derrick Henry, when in fact it isn't.
Right.
Talking of Zach Moss, obviously JT is back on a snap count, a pitch count, but I think a lot of credit has to be given to this Colts side. You know, there was so much talk about AR not being ready, the squad not going to be okay, the squad depth. But really, you know, I mean, we're joint top of the division with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who took down the Bills here in London. I was at that game, and they did look pretty good. But a lot has to be said about this Colts team in terms of the resiliency they've showed, the consistency they've showed, and the trust you mentioned that we're putting in this team to deliver, and they continue to deliver.
Yeah, George, it's a really good reflection on Shane Steichen and what he's established here. You mentioned the Colts not beating the Titans in their last 5 meetings going back to 2020, not winning at home against Tennessee since 2018. And the Titans, frankly, they out-toughed the Colts in a lot of those games. And coming off the field on Sunday, the Colts felt like they weren't just the toughest team on the field at Lucas Oil Stadium. EJ Speed told me, hey, we think we're the toughest team in the league. And that's been reinforced now by, that win over Baltimore. Just a gritty, sloppy, but tough, physical. Everyone left that game just, with bruises and grass marks all over their jerseys. Like, that was an old school football game. But the Colts won it because they felt like, hey, we can tough it out and we can be resilient and relentless and win games like that. And against the Titans, I mean, this is a Titans team that entered week 5 averaging 2.9 yards per carry allowed to opposing teams. And the Colts hit him for like 7 yards per carry in this game.
Yep.
Like, Zach Moss just went off in it. Jonathan Taylor easing his way back in, only averaged 3 yards per carry, but the Colts didn't need him to be Jonathan Taylor yet because you had Zach Moss ripping off a 56-yard run and becoming the first 100-yard rusher the Titans had allowed in 20 games.
Yep.
So up front, the Colts are winning on both sides of the ball. The D-line's playing really well, and that was even without Kwity Paye in this game. On offense, the O-line is playing at a really high level. Tony Sperano Jr. has that unit clicking, even though you had Ryan Kelly missing a couple of games. You missed Bernard Ryman for the last 2 games. They haven't missed a beat in terms of just the overall production and play from that group. Quentin Nelson is back to just like kicking butt out there every single play. Braden Smith's having a really good season. There are a lot of really encouraging and exciting things going on with this Colts team that, to me, again, it all goes back to a reflection on the head coach and the culture that Shane Steichen has instilled in this team. And I think about this a lot. Back when the Colts hired Shane Steichen in February, Chris Ballard talked about Shane's offensive prowess. And, all right, hey, this is the guy who coached up Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts and got the Eagles scoring 30-something points in the Super Bowl. But he said that wasn't why we hired him. We hired him because he's the right coach for this football team. And then you go around the locker room and you talk to a guy like Kenny Moore II or DeForest Buckner, and they'll all tell you that Shane's ability to empower them and set that culture and that tone from the top has been a huge factor in why this team has a lot of really good vibes around it right now. It's not just the offense. It is the defense and special teams and the offense all working together, all under Shane Steichen.
Absolutely. I mean, I could feel the energy through the screen. Every time you see Shane Steichen, when he's speaking to the team, when he addresses the team, when he's coaching the team, it feels very different. You use the word excitement, you use the word vibes. And I think there is no denying that you can see there is a culture within this team and the culture is headed the right way. You also mentioned Buckner, one of the senior guys in the team. So it's only right we head to this 4th-and-1 play. I recall watching the game. I was sitting here 4th-and-1 thinking, okay, it's only going to go one way. This is Derrick Henry's territory. And again, you mentioned it on the Colts audio network where Buckner gets down low and Derrick Henry, who tries to bounce out to the right. And in comes the main man of this defense right now, Zaire Franklin, with 69 tackles through 5 games, absolutely terrorizing guys throughout the league. To put down Derrick Henry and effectively secure this game. I mean, Zaire Franklin has been balling out of his mind, and it's one of the things that I've noticed. I mean, last season he set the single tackle record of 100, and I believe it's 66 tackles, and he's already on 69. He has absolutely, his trajectory is nothing short of amazing. He plays how he talks. You can see he's a leader in that room for the whole squad, as a matter of fact. And he's, someone who really brings the energy and the passion to this team. But Franklin has done so many great things, and I cannot say enough about him.
I mean, it's incredible, right? Like, he set the Colts single-season tackle record, like you mentioned, George. And in the offseason, he trained with Bobby Wagner. He knows Bobby. He went and he trained out with the Legion of Boom guys in 2018. He got to know Bobby Wagner because he said, frankly, hey, I want to be, if I want to be one of the best linebackers in the league, I want to train with one of the best linebackers in the league. So he and Bobby Wagner formed a really close relationship. And this offseason, Bobby Wagner told him, look, anyone can have one great season. Now they know who you are. They're going to see you coming now. And I mean, Bobby Wagner's right. Like, how many times have we seen a guy have, he spikes for 100-something tackles or, has a 1,000-yard receiving season, and then the next year the league figures him out and he just dives off a cliff. The production slips back. Zaire Franklin, the production's going up. He's on pace for 235 tackles. You don't really need to look it up, but I did just in case. That would be an NFL record if he continues this pace. He's a guy who, like, when you're talking about establishing a culture, he's a guy who you want everyone on the team to be like. 7th-round pick, earned his way through special teams, earned his way on the team, by the way, then earned his way through special teams, became a captain on that side of the ball. When he got his opportunity on defense, he took advantage of it. He got a contract extension and then repaid the team by setting a franchise record. Then a year after that, he goes out and he's just playing out of his mind right now. And I think what you said, George, is really spot on, that his confidence in himself is through the roof, and his play is matching it. He is starting to think, look, there's no reason to think I'm not one of the best linebackers in the league. There's no reason to think we don't have one of the best linebacking cores in the league with him, EJ Speed, Shaquille Leonard, going on down to, some of the depth guys like Grant Stewart had a big play. We saw Saguna Luby make some plays last week. And that confidence is showing on the field, that he's playing downhill, he's playing fast, he's playing physical. And that play against Derrick Henry, where Buck knows he's going to get blocked down, so he goes low, he gets his hands on Henry, and then Z's there to just stand him up and pile drive him into the turf 5 yards short of the line to gain. Like, those plays are the ones that get you Pro Bowl speculation and get you Pro Bowl hype. Those are the plays that are going to get you all pro hype if you continue this pace. That the sky is the limit for Zaire Franklin right now, and it's exciting to see a player continue to grow the way that he has over the course of his career and not rest on any accomplishments, any accolades, any of that stuff. He just continues to ascend and ascend and ascend in a way that I think the Colts always kind of thought he could, but seeing it actually happen is so rewarding for so many people in this building, obviously outside of Zaire Franklin himself.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to mention as well is the aura that he has, and clearly, I think it is. You mentioned EJ Speed. They have the podcast, the Trenches podcast, where they share stories, and I love that personally. I love to see the personal side of the players, and the aura is definitely reflecting on the rest of the team. And again, the word excitement. This Colts team is so exciting right now. I know Anthony Richardson is out injured, but this Colts team has something about it. And that leads me to the next guy that I want to mention is Josh Downs. I was a huge fan of Downs as when we picked him in the draft. And, he goes for 6 receptions for 97 yards. There was a huge 3rd down conversion with Anthony Richardson to Downs. The O-line had a beautiful pass protection. Anthony Richardson lets it fly. Josh Downs, it was just a thing of beauty. And, you can start to see these things coming together. And like you say, I mean, yes, people were speaking about whether this season was going to be a season of development for AR and the team, or whether or not JT was going to be back. Obviously, JT is back, and the vibes are just right. The vibes are right. And again, I'm going to come back to Minshew because he does everything well. He does, and he mentioned it's Anthony Richards' team. He knows where the team is at. He's grateful for his opportunities, but he comes in and plays so effectively for this team. You just can't say enough about the guy. He's such a team player, very humble, but also willing to get the team over the line when it needs to be done. So no, we're heading the right way, and I mean, I just can't say enough about this Colts team right now. I'm loving it at the moment.
I mean, think about some of the first year coaches that, like, when you think about like culture that these guys set, you think of the first name that always going to come to mind is going to be Dan Campbell. And that first year he was in Detroit, they didn't win a ton of games, but like you saw it. You saw the team buying in to Dan Campbell. And, we saw the Eagles buying into Nick Sirianni in 2021 when they went 9-8. They snuck into the playoffs as a 7 seed. you're seeing the Colts buy into Shane Steichen right now.
Mm.
And baseline, that is a great starting point for building a winning team. That, okay, you get this whole team behind the coach who has a really good feel and a really good pulse of what to do and how to do it. Baseline, like if that's the story of this season, that's really encouraging for the future of this franchise. But now the Colts are winning games. Like they are winning games in different ways. Like you look at that win against Houston, week 2. Scorching start on offense. They win that game by putting up 31 points. You go to the next week in Baltimore. You win that game because of special teams and really great defense in that game. Then you come to this game against Tennessee and you win the game with incredible complementary football between the offense and defense. Like if you can draw on these different things, okay, hey, 1 week, you know what? We need to score 30 to win this game. All right, let's go out and try to do that, especially now that we have Jonathan Taylor back, one of the most explosive players in the NFL. Even if Anthony Richardson isn't out there, you can see a path for that. You can see a path for the defense going out and just shutting down the opposing team's best player, like they did with Derrick Henry against the Titans, or like they did really with Lamar Jackson against the Ravens, where they held him in check for the most part. And then you see games where, okay, well, if we need our kicker to hit 5 50-yard field goals, well, we've already seen him do it before, so okay, we'll trust him to go do that. There are just, when you develop these different ways to win games that all kind of stem from relentlessness and resiliency and physicality, those are really good building blocks for a team to, again, establish who they are going to be over the course of the season. And this team, like you mentioned the word exciting, like talking to guys in the locker room, there's a lot of excitement in there because this team kind of, I think they all thought we never were as bad as 2022, going 4-12. But ultimately, your Archer record says you are. Now you got to go out and prove it. And there are a lot of guys who from that season were like, that is not the kind of player I want to be known as. That is not the team I want to be connected to, losing 12 games, several of which were not even close. And, you know, you had the Minnesota game in there, all that. To come back now and have a season like the Colts are having so far through 5 games, just a breath of fresh air in there. There's a lot of excitement. And there's a lot of excitement to see, okay, hey, we're 3-2 in the South. Got this game against Jacksonville coming up. Let's see what we can build now. Like, okay, we've established a pretty good foundation. What are we going to build on it? And I think there's a lot of excitement to see what that's going to be over the next couple of weeks.
What I would give to be in that locker room, honestly, I would give anything to be in that locker room right now. But you mentioned the Jags, and there's, you know, the script writers of the NFL, they're working overtime because we've got Minshew against his former team in what people are dubbing as the revenge game. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be exciting. Obviously, we've built a good foundation, like you say. No doubt emotions will be high for Minshew returning to the Jags to take on the Jags. And I don't recall the record. I don't believe our record away to the Jags is very good. So this would be an opportunity to perhaps break that.
It's not curse.
Good. No.
Yeah, I mean, and who better to be the one to go down to Jacksonville? I believe it's since 2014, 13 or 14, the Colts haven't won away to Jacksonville. That includes a bunch of games in Jacksonville. It includes one game out by you, George, at Wembley Stadium in 2016. This is a big one now because all of a sudden, if the Colts, think about this, if the Colts win this game, they will be 3-1 in the South with having split the season series against the Jaguars. Then you get into tiebreakers and stuff if you need to go down that road. But you got the Titans and the Texans left late in the season. Those games are not until December and January, respectively. By the time the Colts get to those games, could they potentially be in a position to lock up the South? Everything is on the table right now for this Colts team in going into Week 6 in a way that I think is surprising some people. But inside this building, I don't think it's surprising a lot of people. Right. That this is a team that can hang with anyone in the league, that can go win games where their starting quarterback gets knocked out. They can go win games with, you know, certain guys being in and out of the lineup. It's just really encouraging all around. Just really encouraging.
And before we come to a close, is there anybody you want to you want to shine some light on, perhaps someone that, maybe people haven't really paid too much attention to. I know Dayo Dengba was someone you liked early on in the season. I know Samson Ebekam's even I think he had one of the fastest sack rates in the league at the minute.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say Samson Ebukam, just because, George, he was a guy when the Colts signed him, kind of flew under the radar.
Yeah.
Like, all right, okay, Colts are moving on from Unique Ngakoue. This guy had a couple, 4 or 5 sacks a year in San Francisco and Los Angeles, but he's come in and he's been a menace off the edge. And not only when he's been hitting home on sacks and getting pressures, but just the discipline that he's been rushing with has helped out DeForest Buckner so much that you're seeing, Buck make plays, seeing Grove make plays, whoever's lining up at D tackle, and all of a sudden, I think they're getting, I don't know what the numbers are, but I'm guessing they're getting fewer double teams than we've seen in recent years where, teams are just doubling Buck all the time. You got to help out with Samson Ebukam now because the speed rushes he has off the edge, you got to go help a little bit, from time to time. So to me, his addition, I think, has really kind of brought that D line together in a way that shouldn't go unnoticed. That, okay, you get him in there. Quiddy's playing really well. Obviously, he missed the last game with a concussion. But just adding him in there, I think it has really led to these 4-as-1 rushes that are leading the Colts to have a really solid defensive line.
Absolutely, yeah. One of the standout additions of the season for the Colts, for sure. But I mean, yeah, we'll leave it there, JJ. That's been a great catch-up, a quick review of the Colts. Next up for the Colts is the Jags in a hotly contested divisional battle. Call it, if you like, battle for the AFC South, albeit early in the season. I can't wait. The Colts are doing good things. Shane Steichen has them going the right way. The team is unified. JT is back. AR is out at the minute, but we have faith in Minshew, and he has proven so far that he can deliver. So until next time, that will be all from us here. I am George from Georgeonsports, joined by PA announcer and Colts.com writer JJ Stankevitz, and we'll see you on the next episode.